Powered by D.N.A with Nikkei. That is Dialogue, Networking, Aspire. I am Nikkei, and so happy that you thought about me enough to be a part of this amazing journey. Listen, the month of July, we celebrated women's victories and voices. In the month of August, we are getting with millennials and getting their perspective on religion, politics, marriage, social injustice, all careers, all types of stuff. And so I am so excited this morning that I have with me today a very special guest, Kevin Corpening. Yes, he is a millennial. He is an entrepreneur. He's got several businesses, I believe. He is talented by D.N.A. I mean, literal D.N.A. He's got talent. He is a husband, a father, a brother, a cousin. Hello, I call him cousin son. And just I'm just excited because first of all, I've known him his whole life, and secondly, just to be able to sit down and talk with you this morning, Kevin. So thank you so much for joining me on Empowered by D.N.A. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing great. How about yourself, Nikki?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Awesome, awesome, awesome.
So I want to start out this conversation with asking you what is a fun fact? What is something fun about you that we just never would have guessed?
Something fun about me, I would say, a lot of people don't know this, but I really love country music.
Really?
Yep, I do.
Wow. Yeah,
So
yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that.
you can catch me on the fish bank with my country music playing, and you know, a lot of
That's
people really don't know that. So,
that's some interesting and fun. That's very interesting. You shocked me with that one. I'm lost for words. I wasn't
right,
expecting that.
right,
That's interesting. Very fun and good. You know, it's great you have an ear for different genres of music. That's very good. I like country too. I have a feeling you might like a little more than I do, but I do like some country music. Older country music, but country music.
yeah. See, I
Um
like the country music in this millennium. You know,
oh, okay, okay. You like okay. Yeah, I haven't
little
listened to
older
the new
stuff I
stuff.
haven't got to yet.
Okay, yeah, I'm more like, your Kenny Rogers, Dolly Parton, old school.
Now, I do like Kenny Rogers.
You do? Okay. All right. Yeah. I haven't heard the new stuff yet. I hadn't gotten into that yet. But that's good stuff. That's good stuff. So do me a favor, tell us a little bit about you. I know who you are, but can you share with us a little bit about who Kevin Corpening is?
Oh, man, I'm a dad, cousin, brother, um, 29 years old, born and raised Greensboro, North Carolina. Currently, I'm a realtor with Realty One Group, an investor. Me and my wife own an investment group. Um, we also own a landscaping company, so we got our footprint in the community pretty heavy, trying to give back and create jobs.
Awesome. And that's good stuff. That's good stuff. So I want to start with I want to get a little deep here with you, Kevin.
Okay,
You being a millennial, but not just a millennial, a black male. And in the last couple of years, and it's racism isn't new, right? It's always
correct.
existed, but it seems a bit bolder in this time period. So could you share with me kind of your thoughts, your views on um being a black male in today's in today's time, in this political climate, in this time period of whatever you want to call it is right now, because it's rough times.
Most definitely, most definitely. First of all, I just want to say, as far as being a black man, it's tough. I think every day we go out with a certain type of pressure that's on us to make sure we make it back to our families, our kids, things like that. As far as you know, police brutality being at a all-time high, it's not only the criminals that we have to worry about now, it's the people that we think are here to protect and serve us. So, um, it's really hard. If I'm not home by a certain time, my wife's calling me to make sure I'm all right.
Right.
Um, so it's a lot of things that go into play as far as that. But definitely a lot of pressure. Got to keep your head on a swivel.
Mm.
I tell my kids all the time, you may not be that, but someone will label you that. So we as a culture have to tell our kids how to act. You know, may, maybe you shouldn't wear that, even though they may be wanting to just express themselves. So
Right.
I think just taking what we've learned and what we've seen and giving that next generation the uh the capability to know how to handle themselves as well in today's America.
Okay, good stuff. Thank you for sharing that. So, we're again still talking in the aspect of not only the generation that you're a part of, which is millennials, but also you being a man, a black male, an entrepreneur. How do you um, gauge, or how do you, I don't want to say gauge, maybe manipulate, or get through your day? Because you got a lot of hats. You've got kids, you've got a spouse, you name three businesses, off the
Most
top of
definitely.
your head. And I'm thinking, for my day job is 8 hours, so I'm trying to figure out, 8 times 3, I don't think it's that many hours in a day.
Right.
um,
Right.
so, how are you working this as a millennial? Because speaking of stereotypes, one thing that I'm big on is supporting small black businesses, or black businesses, period. I just think that we should support ourselves, definitely support our own. I definitely like to support, of course, the younger generation, which would be the millennials at this stage. How are you navigating all of this stuff?
um it's been trial and error. I've had to put some things in, perspective, because for myself and the family that I come from, our work ethic and our drive is it can be overwhelming sometimes, to the point where you may neglect the other things in life. So I've just had to kind of put that in perspective, because me personally, when I see a goal, I just want to go get there. But I would say my mornings typically start early
Mhm.
because I have such a long day. So typically, right now, we're doing maybe about, I would say maybe 13, 14-hour days. But that's me getting up, at 6 a.m. I got to get my
Mhm.
mind together. I got to go to the gym. I got to, get my meditation, spend my time with God, all
Mhm.
that good stuff. So that's a part of that morning routine. And just being able to incorporate my wife, with those things, because she definitely plays a big part in, a lot of behind the scenes paperwork, because paperwork, that's not me.
I feel you.
I I can go out there, I can get the houses, I can get the landscaping jobs, but when it comes to paperwork, I'm like, hey, I need you to handle this. But I think it's definitely just putting things in perspective. And one thing that I've learned is, as far as being able to, yes, we can get up at 6 a.m., but we got to be able to do these things over time, because I think us as millennials, we are looking at things not just for ourselves, we are looking at things as, hey, we want to be able to leave our kids something to where we can create generational wealth. I think that's the biggest thing I hear from a lot of millennials. Like, hey, we want to create generational wealth. What's one of the quickest ways that you can do that? Real estate, buying properties. You can do that whether you got a record, if you don't have a record, whether you graduated with your master's degree. So those are things, like I tell people, like, you don't have to have the most skill, but you need phenomenal will, because life is gonna life.
Right.
you know.
Right. Yeah, that is something I do definitely applaud millennials on. You all are definitely, I think our generation was more, um I guess I would say some members of our generation, we kind of have the blinders on. Like our goal was to, graduate college and go work in an office and maybe be CEO. Not always venturing out to the multiple streams of income. Generating generational wealth. All of these terminology and things that you all strive for. I definitely applaud, because you have a. I'd like to say the millennials are a little bit more riskier than I would say Gen X. We were more, I think, in a survival mode maybe. I
Uh-huh.
think your generation is, if you will, is kind of a little bit more laid back, not afraid to step out there, like you said, and create that generational wealth for your family. Whether I mean, whether it's, I'm going to be, a doctor, or I'm going to be an entrepreneur. Look, I'm going to get my businesses. I'm going to create this wealth, build my family, grow my family, so that I can leave something for my family.
Most
And I
definitely.
think that, that I definitely applaud you with. So in talking, I heard you mention that you have to have your worship, your meditation time with God. So I'm going to hit this question. I have to. It is, as a millennial, when you're looking for a church home, when you're looking for a place for you and your family, and I'm probably asking this a little selfishly because I'd like to know,
Yeah.
what is it exactly that would make if you could describe like that perfect church for you, if you walked in, what would it be that attracts you, but not only attracts you, but would keep you? Like, what would be, as a millennial, from a millennial perspective, what is church, or what should church look like in today's time?
Um, just for me, like, in all honesty, a lot of people can be Bible obese, so to speak. You can digest the Bible, and you can say everything in the Bible, but it comes down to me, like, does your relationship with Christ show through your everyday life?
Wow.
So I sit back. I'm not the type that I say too much. I observe a lot. Um, as you know, who my cousin is. We observe a lot. We may not say too much, but we definitely see everything, and not so much to say with a physical eye, but a spiritual eye. And my granddad used to say, listen twice and speak once." So that's something that I go by. I look at people talking, I look at their actions, and if what you say and your actions don't line up, it's really not the best place for me to be, because for me and myself, like, if I say something, if I'm telling you to do something, I need to be able to live that same lifestyle.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, you and my husband had a definitely a great mentor with granddaddy Corpening, as or Elder Corpening, or Elder Cope,
Yes, yes.
because truly he walked the walk. And so, yeah, I agree with you. I think that that is definitely important. It's something I'm learning about your generation, that you really try the spirit by the spirit. You'll really want to see, let me see what I'm working with. And you'll go. But then I believe that once you see something that's not in line with the word, then millennials, and I Leah corrected me last week. It's not that you're not loyal, but you're not blindly loyal, as she said. So I
Right.
think that you all are definitely loyal to a place, if you find and can call it a home, but you're not blind to anything. So if it's not aligning with the word, aligning with what it should be, then you have no problem saying, "Look, I've got to move on and find that happy place."
Oh,
So,
most
um,
definitely. We chucking the
yeah.
deuces. In Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name. I hear you. Yeah. So, you've explained that church, you want a leader truly that is going to be a follower of the word. So we're going to move over for just a second. I know I'm in all types of areas, but short time period. I want to get it all in here.
Most
Um,
definitely.
what's when we're talking about politics, I don't ever ask anybody what they vote, but the main thing is in your generation, like what is your viewpoint on the politics of today? We know we've got mounds of social injustice. I mean, and it didn't just start this year. We know for years we've been dealing with, you've got George Floyd, and you've got Massey that just happened, and so many others.
Hmm.
And the count keeps adding up. And then you've got interesting presidential candidates out there. So what is your take on the political climate today?
Um, that I mean that that's a rabbit hole. But if you really, for myself personally, I just think when you look at how politics is ran as far as domestic agendas and international agendas and things of that nature, it's just one of those things where what we are seeing now is puppets being pulled by a string, ran by entities and things like that that really don't want to be seen. Um, for myself, I told somebody the other week, I was like, hey, for me personally, it's like a bazooka and a grenade. Which one do you want to get hit with? Do you want to get hit with the bazooka, or do you want to get hit with the grenade?
Right.
So, as far as everything, times were spoke about like this in the Bible.
Right.
So I just encourage everybody, don't put your faith in man, um, and just continue to build your relationship with God, because again, this is not our eternal resting place.
Right.
Um, and we're just here for the time being, and if things are like this is like this happening,
Mhm.
we know that we serve a God that is the ruler of time.
Thank you,
He
Jesus.
knew these things were going to happen, and I think it puts people in a place where you're not going to be able to call on Buddha, you're not going to be able to call on Muhammad. You're going
Come
to have
on
to
now.
call on the Almighty Jesus,
Right.
the
Right. You
true
said
living
every
God.
knee shall bow.
Every
Every
knee should
knee.
bow and every tongue confess, and I
That's
believe we're
right.
getting to those times.
Truly. So what would you say to the person that says exactly, you're looking at the lesser two evils, so why should I vote? Because a lot, especially of the generations behind you, to me seem to struggle with utilizing their right to vote.
Right. And I definitely believe you have a voice, and I think it's bigger than just who picks the president. A lot of us think that, okay, we're gonna pick the president and it's gonna make change in our specific county or our state. I
Mhm.
think it's getting down to the actual legislation laws that people are coming with. So I definitely think it's important to get out and vote, and just as important as, if not more important than the presidential vote. I think it's important to get out in your state and vote, because a lot of these laws that come from legislation come from your state. So a lot of people, they'll get out there and vote, and I hate to say it, it's our people, somebody
Yeah.
black, so they like, hey, we just gonna vote for them, not knowing
Mhm.
that this person is making it so you can't have an abortion at all, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
Under any circumstance, whether you were a victim of sexual assault or anything.
Right.
So in my perspective, I really think, even more importantly than the presidential candidacy, I think we've got to be able to get out and vote in our city and stop being ignorant to voting because of a trend, what somebody else is doing, and actually take the time to look at these uh, debates, read these legislations that they're trying to put out,
Mhm.
and not only that, read the fine print. You know,
Yes.
um, they used to say back in the day, if you want to hide something from a black person, put it in a book.
Yep.
So we've got to use the knowledge that we've got out there to really expound on what we know and what we should be knowing. So I tell everybody, man, go. Your voice does matter, especially in your state. So
Awesome.
that's
Thank
where
you.
I'm at with that situation.
And I agree with you. I truly agree that voting has to go beyond we get hype with the president. And unfortunately, we never seem to help our presidents because we stop with them. We don't
Yeah,
give them a House of Representatives to work with. We don't give them a Congress to work with. We don't,
right.
you know, we don't we let the governor go. We don't vote for that. We don't vote for the mayor. We don't vote,
Yeah,
so I vote for the stoplight if you ask me what color it should be
right.
because I'm that serious about,
And
using
unfortunately,
my right.
right. And unfortunately, that's kind of what happened with with Barack. That's
Yep.
what happened with old Joe. So I mean, we've seen the trends, we've seen the patterns, and we've seen how detrimental it could be
Yeah.
when you've got the wrong people sitting in the state senate.
Exactly, exactly. So, before we go, I do want to get into a little bit of some of your, what I believe would be your expertise. So, we know you're an entrepreneur, and you pointed out the fact that, the thing about owning your own business for someone who, not that you have been, but for that person that may have been, have a record incarcerated or something, trying to get a second start in life, or maybe a person that says, "Look, I don't want to go to college, or maybe I did go to college, but I don't want to work for anybody else. Look, I've made money for other people my whole life. Now I want to do something for myself, but I don't have the means to start. How, what is your suggestion for that person? Like, how do they start from bottom or ground zero with nothing? Say they don't have any finances or resources to get started. What would be your suggestion for some steps they could take?
um I mean, typically I could give you a bunch of actions to take to do that, but ultimately it really starts with mindset.
Mm,
When you
good.
change your mindset, poverty is a mindset as well as wealth being a mindset. So
Mm,
when you change that mindset and stop looking at the glass half empty and start looking at it half full, things become a lot easier to navigate through life. So I would definitely say it's definitely a mindset thing first.
mhm.
But like I tell people all the time when they say, "Hey man, I want to invest in real estate, but I don't have any money," I'll be like, "Well, look, how much did you spend on how much pair of Jordans right there?
Wow.
How
Okay,
much you
let's
spend
talk
on that
about it.
Gucci belt right there? How much you
Okay.
spend on that Gucci shirt?" When they start naming off numbers, $400, $300, $700, I'm like, man, hey, that sound like you could have invested in a property. So I
Mm,
think it's just putting
wow.
things in perspective. Just going back to the church, I know a lot of times we talk about tithing and we get
Mm,
members that don't tithe and things like
mhm,
that. And what I'm realizing is in the black community, we expect tithes, and we are dealing with a lot of people who don't know financial literacy. So instead of
mm.
teaching tithing, we need to be
Wow.
teaching financial literacy, because now you teach people how to save and budget and put money back into where you're getting fed into. So for myself, I really think just really again, mindset, learning financial literacy, and discipline, doing things that you don't want to do, even though you have to. So, and just having that self discipline when you don't want to do it, you got to get this done. It's got to be done. So I think it's just, again, a lot of that stuff just goes back to mindset. And you don't have to have extreme skill. You just need phenomenal will.
Wow, that's a extreme. You don't need extreme skill, phenomenal will. That's a mouthful, but truly, just what you've just said in this short time period, Kevin, really is a blessing because you made just so much sense. It is the willpower to do what you need to do, to
Most
get what
definitely.
you want. And so you definitely are right. Even when I look at myself sometimes, I'm like, yeah, I really need to start checking myself and saying, you don't really need to do that. That's just what you want to do.
Right.
And I
Look,
think that
I got on the Old Navy V-neck and some Old Navy jeans, but we flipping houses. So I think
we'll see.
it's just a thing.
But I remember my dad saying the same thing. He used to tell me, he said, you'll know a man's wealth by their dress. And at the moment I thought he meant, oh, they gotta be dressed up. He said no. He said most people with money don't normally wear their money. So you
Right.
don't see it. And so when I used to work in the bank, I got to the point where I could look at somebody and tell, no matter what they told me, they could give me a whole story. And I knew I could tell you exactly like what um really about how much money they really had. And normally the more they had on, the less they had in the bank. And
Most
and I
definitely.
re- I never forget a man, he had on like old like steel-toed boots. He was driving an old truck, and I pulled up his account and about fell out of my chair. He had uh rented his land property to the cellular companies. And
Wow.
he was, and I would, and me being me, don't you want a new car? He was like, no, my truck works fine. So to your point, it's that's the difference to me between when you talk about building generational wealth. That means I'm working towards something. And so yeah, I don't have the red bottom shoes. I don't have the Mercedes Benz. I don't have, the $2 million house,
Hmm.
but I'm building something. And so I've got the cash. I've got the wealth. And because I know what I'm moving towards, what I'm working towards, to your point, look, my old Navy shirt is working just fine.
Just
It's
fine.
covering
It's
my
clothing you.
body. Right.
And Kiefer, he's probably gonna be like, wow, when I say this. He did a sermon a while ago, long ago, but he talked about the microwave generation, how
Mm,
we want things now, and we're good with that instant gratification. But
mhm,
just through, again, mindset, I've really understood the meaning of delayed gratification. That,
mm,
okay, it may not be right now, but
mhm.
it's going. I'm okay with, so to speak, being in the trenches until that
Right.
does come, and just continue to keep my head down, keep working, knowing that, hey, by the time I'm 40 years old, me and my
Mhm.
wife gonna have an RV, kids gonna be in college, we gone, they straight, rental property
Y'all in
bringing
this
in
RV.
income, and again, back to mindset. And then
Mhm.
after mindset, now we got to work on the vision. So I think once you touch on mindset and you get a clear vision of where God is taking you, and what he's showing you for your life, um you begin to work on those things, and it becomes easier and easier to do those things every day.
Awesome. That's some good stuff, Kevin. Thank you so much. I need to get you to do a workshop on the mindset. That'll preach by itself, but definitely need you to do a workshop on that mindset, because truly,
Most
especially
definitely.
in our culture, we struggle with this. And
Right.
I don't think social media helps either. Because I always say on social media you can be whoever you want to be.
Correct.
You can look however you want to look, and live whatever life you in your mind you think you want to live, but the reality is different. And I think that all of that stems from that mindset. And I think first beginning with not really caring what other people think. Know, to your point, know what it is you want to do, go for it. And like you said, you're working hard now so you can play hard later. I'm not mad at you about that at all.
Correct.
um, so I always tell haters, when you're hating, go on and get the story. Understand
Hey,
that
if you
person.
ain't got no haters, you ain't doing nothing. So
There,
they
there you
they gonna
go.
hate.
Exactly, exactly. Well, my friend, I definitely appreciate you coming on here and talking to me. You've definitely dropped some great nuggets of wisdom for somebody, a millennial, someone so young. but definitely wise. But I said as a kid, you were always kind of a little old man anyway when you were younger. But definitely truly appreciate you sharing with us today. So if you could leave a young man and young woman one piece of advice, what would it be before we close out? And it could be in reference to anything,
Somebody
life.
asked me this. Somebody asked me this last week, Nikki, and I think it was really straight and to the point. Just be yourself in a world where you can be anybody, and you just kind of touched on that a little bit too. Just be yourself. I was in a meeting, and they were talking to me about real estate. I got to meet some really great people, and of course, here I am. They like, well, who you aspire to be like? Myself. And I said, no
Woo.
offense, I don't want to be the next Mark Spain. I don't want to
Mm.
be the next Tom Ferry. I said, I want to be the next Kevin Corpening. So I
Yes.
think it's just going with that confidence, being you, being who you truly are.
Mm.
One thing about me, I'm gonna talk about God, you
Yes.
know, and I'm a firm believer that outside of my mindset, outside of vision, nothing would, none of the magnitude and the dreams that I'm living would be possible without him. So I'm definitely thankful that he's allowed me this opportunity to just do what it is that he said to do, and that's spread the good news and try to live by example.
Amen. Amen. You get an amen from me for that one. I love it. I love it. So be you. Strive to be a better you. I love it. Thank you again so much, Kevin, for coming on today with me to just talk about your perspective on religion, on politics, and definitely those nuggets, those pearls about mindset, changing that mindset.
Most
Because
definitely.
if you think you can, then you can, right? With God, all things are possible.
Hey,
So I
what
really,
Kiefer used to say, he used to be like, you got to change that stinking thinking.
there you go. Exactly,
You got to
exactly.
change it.
Change that
You
thinking,
got to
thinking.
change it.
You are right. You are so right. Well, thank you again so much for joining us. Give the family my love and really, really appreciate you again for joining us. Thank you for those of you following me and watching. We appreciate you joining us today. We'll get all your questions answered if you have any. Again, his name is Kevin Corpening. If you are looking for a realtor, if you are looking to make an investment, this is the person you want to call. This is the person you want to get in contact with. He's on Facebook. If you have any questions of how to contact him, feel free to reach out to me. Again, I've had an amazing conversation on the millennial perspective with Kevin Corpening. Thank you, my friends, for joining me on Empowered by D.N.A. Dialogue, Networking, Aspire with Nikkei. I am Nikkei. Love you to life. Have an amazing day. Bye.
All right. Thank you for having me, Nikki. Love you too.
Thank